This is my 2010 Ford Fusion. I'm having sunroof problems. I removed my headliner, and all of this rust fell down. Because my sunroof is leaking. And that is the reason why I was having fitment issues with my sunroof. And I also have some rust spots. I'm going to attempt to fix this. So that other people can fix their sunroof. Here is your front drains. On the rear, there are some more drains. Okay, well, I'm going to catalog this process. So, I'll be back. A little bit of an update. This drain was clogged. That drain was open. Those drains are open. I blew some compressed air because my local car wash has free air, and this one was having difficulty having air blown through it, and eventually popped, and eventually air was able to freely flow out of it. The drains for these cars are actually behind the fenders. So I poured some water on it here. See, it's draining out here. The drain ends up behind this fender. But it's dry here. I poured about 2 gallons or so. This is the driver's side drain. And you can see it's a little bit moist right here. Quick update. I found some water leaking from the hose where it connects to the drain. The hose has been dry rotting, has become fatigued, and started leaking there. The rear drains are not leaking, but they have some sort of coupling. I want to try to replicate that because it seems to work well. So this bracket here, this plastic bracket, is sandwiched between the metal drain and the car sunroof frame. In between there, if I open this up, water starts to seep out. I'm thinking that seam needs to be resealed. Okay, I have my entire sunroof assembly out. There are a total of 8 bolts. One there, one in the center, front sides, and then 2 in the front. And there's nothing else holding on this sunroof besides those bolts. I recommend having another friend hold up the sunroof assembly while you're removing the bolts. It looks pretty bad, because it is, but still fairly solid. I'm hoping I can salvage this. One thing to note, I noticed there's this tape on the front side bolts with a washer. That one is stuck there. I'm assuming that's to space the assembly to the roof. The other bolt sections or bolt holes do not have washers. Okay, so here's the front drain pan, I guess you can call it. This is the front driver drain hole. This is your sunroof track, or this is your sunroof track. That's your drain pan. And right underneath there, where this drain goes into this drain, there is another channel where I believe water is collecting here, this lower pan, then filling up, and just enough water to go underneath this secondary channel or drain pan and leak out below that seam. Here's a little bit better view. So both of these are plastic. This channel here catches water from the side of the sunroof. This channel here catches the water from the front of the sunroof. They both made up here. This channel goes into this channel. There's rivets here, and I'm curious if those are what leaking and making water come out from this area, because this is all one piece. Silicone underneath here, maybe up around here. Silicone around these rivets, because this is just a water track. Your sunroof track is right here. You don't want to silicone that because your rollers might get stuck, or your slides, or whatever it's in there. I'm using this silicone that I had in the house. It's waterproof. But anyways, I'm going to make a modification to my drain pan here. As you can see, the front mounting bracket, it's actually lower than the rest of the pan. And you'll notice the outline of the frame in the car. It doesn't protrude beyond this point here. So what I did was I got an old gift card, cut it up, and I'm going to use some JB weld I have around here and weld it here so that rain cannot leak beyond this point and onto my sunroof frame. The silicone turned out great. This stuff was really thick, so this whole area is just covered in this stuff. I siliconed around the rivets, and this is a little bit better angle. But I siliconed around this area, underneath here, below here, up and around this area. The gift card modification worked out pretty well too. Got the old DeWalt putting in some work, but I got most of the loose rust out. Gonna be moving on to sanding and then priming. Okay, it's been a fun and long night of sanding. I have been using this rust barrier it can be painted over rusted and bare metal. I figured that's probably a good idea for the tight spaces that I couldn't sand. This metal is eaten up, but the metal that's left over at this point is still very solid. Okay, so looking at it the next day, it seems to have turned out all right. I understand it's nowhere near the high quality of a professional body shop, but I don't need it to be perfect. I just need it to work. I made sure to strip everything down to bare metal, then sprayed this rust frame paint spray, whatever you want to call it. Everything has been covered that needs to be covered. I have my sunroof installed. Everything fit. All the bolts went in nicely. It's very sturdy. Now I'm happy about how everything turned out. For the drains, this hose here, it is a 3/8 hose, but it stretches to almost a 1/2 inch or at a 1/2 inch at this fitting here. I got me some 3/8 hose, replacement hose. Is this clear hose with some barb fittings and some hose clamps, 3/8 hose clamps. However, this hose is kind of thick. I had a hard time getting it onto this fitting here without breaking that fitting off. I got some old faucet grease. I had put a little bit on this side of the fitting, and I was able to shove on this tube over that fitting, and it's not coming off. I was gonna put a hose clamp on it, but I'm almost afraid it's gonna be too much pressure on this plastic and it'll collapse. You know, I guess an added benefit of using this clear tube is I can visually see if my drains are clogged. So the reason why I put the fitting here is for ease of service. In the event that this starts leaking, I can remove this plastic cover easily on the A-pillar without having to remove the whole headliner. One thing to note, I know this hose is a 3/8 hose. This is a 3/8 fitting. However, the inside diameter of this fitting is smaller than I would like it to be. And then this is the hose diameter, 3/8. 3/8 compared to the inside diameter of this fitting, it's a lot smaller. That's probably why this is a 1/2 inch fitting here. It's so when the pipe is stretched, it doesn't restrict water flow. So I'm probably gonna get some 1/2 inch barb fittings, and I'll just use the same faucet grease to help it slide onto the fittings. Pour down 2 gallons of water. I did spill a bunch of water on my seat because I was being an idiot. But anyways, I call this a huge success. I'm gonna pour the last of this water here. So everything is draining out like it should. See, there's no water standing anywhere. Everything's draining. You see water's coming out from underneath the car as it should. And everything is still dry. And I want you to look at that. Good fitment. This time I dumped another 2 gallons and there's no leaks anywhere that I can find. This here is dry. That's just shiny paint. This here is dry. All of this is still dry. I'm very happy with this. This is flush. That is flush. I believe what happened was the rust here was building up so much that it literally forced this whole sunroof frame down, causing the sunroof to become in a bind and causing more water to go in here, just escalating the problem even further. So I guess if you're looking at one of these Fusions and the sunroof looks like it's not perfectly flushed, it may have a lot of rust due to a leak.